Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Terrance Johnson. As always, thank you so much for joining me. What are we going to talk about today? Well, before we get into that, I just want to thank you so much for all your support, all the follows, the subscribers, the likes, and the comments. I will continue to ask you to make sure you hit the like, comment, and subscribe button so we can continue to push the algorithm and get our message out there. What are we going to talk about today? Well, you know, there's a lot going on in the world, ladies and gentlemen. There is a lot going on. How do you deal with it? How do you navigate it? What are you going to do to deal with the world in its current state? Obviously, we woke up this morning, there was another mass shooting. There's the war going on in the Middle East. There's financial crisis in the country. There's a variety of problems that we all have to take heed to. But here's what I want you to do. You know, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what's going on across the globe, at the end of the day, we're all given a choice of how we respond to this crisis, if you will, the way we see the world, what's going on in the world. The one thing I want to encourage you to do is to guard your mind and to guard your thoughts. This is absolutely quintessential in order for you to navigate these things. Listen, at the end of the day, all of us have a choice. I highly encourage you to choose wisely, to think your life through. Those that you love, those that you care about, make sure that you tell them that you love them, because there's no guarantee that tomorrow they will be there. This is just the truth. Oftentimes I hear from my mentees, Mr. Johnson, how do you deal with these struggles? How do you deal with the financial crisis? How do you deal with being married? How do you deal with having a family? How do you deal with life itself? I take life one day at a time. Something I often tell people is, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. Life itself can be challenging, but it also can be very rewarding, if you will. It's really your perspective and where you're standing in it. I think one should develop a routine of meditation and prayer and fasting. These things are absolutely quintessential for your overall spiritual development and your progress. You must understand that all of us are here for a reason. You are not some random equation or some random leaf in the wind, if you will. To take it a step further, I believe we all chose to come here. We chose to come here, and it is your responsibility to find your purpose, to find the reason, if you will, for your existence, the reason for your destiny. Is this an easy task? Absolutely not. But many of us will shrink our own potential, if you will, to fit in with the world, to be accepted by our so-called peers. I highly encourage you not to do that. You should make it a point to be who you are and to live the life that you feel in your heart you're meant to live. This is going to require courage on your part. And it's going to require that you adapt a certain mindset in order to see it through. Oftentimes, when one tries to better themselves, they will find themselves by themselves, because most people are only cool with you as long as you're down with what they're doing. I.e., if you're smoking crack, a crackhead is only going to be cool with you if you're smoking crack. And if you're not doing it, one of three things are going to happen. Either you're going to do what they're doing, you're not going to do it, they're going to live how you live, or you guys just won't simply hang together. The point I'm trying to make is simple. Choose your circle wisely. Choose who you have around you. Not everyone you know is worthy to be around you. Not everyone you know is going in the same direction that you're hitting your life in. So I want you to be mindful of the individuals that you have around you, the energies that you share. Do you know that any time you sit and converse with anyone is an exchange of energy, if you will? Anytime you talk to anyone, you ever meet someone and you say, I got a bad vibe about that person? Well, what's going on is your intuition is being heightened. And if we look at the word intuition, if we take the T-I-O-N off, to be in tune with what? The universal mind, the universal law, which we know as God, if you will. One can achieve a higher level of success and discernment through prayer, meditation, and fasting. Now, I don't mean this from a religious connotation, if you will. Many times when you hear these words, the first thing a person does is associate that with religion. Listen, there is no book in this world that could tell you how to live your life outside of the fact and reason that inside of you, you're given God-given abilities to discern whether something is right or wrong. Let me give you an example, and that's not to throw shade on any book, but there are many books, there's many references of knowledge, if you will, many ancient texts that most of us just don't refer to anymore in the world. Many people become rigid in their belief system, that they leave no room for fluidity, they leave no room for another option or another perspective. And by no means am I here to debate that, but the fact still remains that at the end of the day, you are given a choice on how you're going to live your life. When you're about to do something wrong, doesn't your heart rate go up? Doesn't your mouth get dry? Don't you get nervous and filled with anxiety or that anxious energy when you know you're about to do something you're not supposed to do? Each human being is given this God-given ability to know the difference between right and wrong. Unfortunately, through religious dogma and this innuendo, most people lose sight of that, and this in itself creates a mass level of division. It is entirely up to you to find the purpose of your existence and how you're going to live your life. I would encourage you also not to dumb yourself down to make yourself fit in or to become comfortable with society. Society itself is really easily controlled. If you look at what's on television, if you look at the message that's promoted to the young people, the way our women are treated, the way we perceive men, the way the world itself is given to us, is actually given to us in a way that's not very palatable. It creates division, war, anger, bitterness, unforgiveness, no mercy, no kindness. Were we meant to be this way, or do we become this way? When I look at society, I simply say this: society is a reflection of our own hearts as humanity. Evil and killings and murders and all the things that you see happen are simply a reflection of what's going on in our hearts collectively, or what I would say the collective consciousness of so-called human beings. It is not easy to separate yourself from this. Oftentimes you will find yourself alone. Oftentimes you will find yourself misunderstood. But nevertheless, it does not negate the fact that you have a moral, spiritual, and I would say a legal obligation to a certain extent to be the very best that you could be. What advice would I give you to navigate this? Well, number one, you have to decide what type of person you're wanting to be. You must make a decision. Many of us are going through life without deciding what we want to be, who we are. They're looking for other people to validate their own existence. This, by my opinion, is a grave mistake, and it is not something that you should partake in at all. The fact of the matter is, you are given a mind, and when you wake up every morning, there is no one in your head but you. You decide what you want to be. You decide what you want to do. You decide how you want to live. Now, of course, there is the element of God, which I believe in God strongly. And God is always with us. It is that voice that tells you not to say this to your wife or husband. It is that voice that tells you not to get upset when you're in traffic and, give someone the finger, if you will, or yell or scream at them. God is always with us. The deal is, most of us just don't listen. We won't listen. We follow our own heart, our own mind. There's a scripture that teaches us that says there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end means is death. Most people think that what they're doing is right, and every man's way seems right in his own eyes until someone else comes along and judges him. Now, am I meaning to be judgmental? By no means. The fact of the matter is, the world will judge itself. It will, and it is. There are bigger elements, if you will, that are at work that most of us are just unaware of. Some have referenced this as spiritual power, spiritual understanding, God, demons, devils, angels. It's been given many, many names. But at the end of the day, you chose to come here and you're going to leave here. You're here for an assignment. It is imperative that you find out what your assignment is. Many of you have different gifts, but you don't share them with the world. Some people have the gift to teach. Some have the gift of music. Some have the gift of being highly intellectual or possess great wisdom. But if you continue to allow the world to dictate to you what it is that you need to do, or in other words, what defines you as a so-called human being, I assure you, you will find yourself wanting. At the end of the day, evolution, the podcast itself, in a sense, the title defines itself. We must evolve. If you were to go back 100 years ago and you pulled out your smartphone and turned on the flashlight, someone would call you a sorcerer or a devil. The fact of the matter is, it is merely just technology. Us as human beings are evolving to a point, however, our technology is exceeding our evolution. And in that, we find ourselves disconnected from people. Very few people have real conversations anymore. They're text masters, or we're Instagram masters, or YouTube masters. There's the dialogue of having one-on-one conversation is to an extent a forgotten art. I highly encourage you to develop great relationships with people. You can only change your life if you're willing to change yourself. Unfortunately, as I tell many of my mentees, many of them want their lives to change without them changing in the process. Many of them want to have a great marriage but don't want to be a great husband or a great wife. Many people want to make great money but don't want to put out minimum effort. This by itself is an oxymoron and it will not work. If you change the way you see the world will change. One must adapt. Your mindset is the key and your imagination is the gateway to the change that you seek. Now, how do I do this? Is it a simple process? It is as simple as you allow yourself to be. Life itself does not have to be difficult. Business itself does not have to be difficult. Relationships themselves don't have to be difficult. The fact of the matter is, it is people that make them difficult. This is what makes life difficult. Life itself is not designed to be difficult for any of us, but it is the people in the world itself that make life challenging for all of us. I encourage you to separate yourself. There's nothing wrong with being by yourself for a period of time and rediscovering, if you will, that childlike faith, the innocence of thought. Your thoughts are the gateway to everything that you're desiring. But most people do not think about what they want. They think about what they don't want. And for that is the reason why you see the things that you have come in your life come. You are literally drawing it to you. Now, how can I prove this? Let us suppose that you're thinking about someone and then that person calls you. And as soon as you answer the phone, the first thing you say is, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." And then that person has called you. Now, it's not a coincidence because I know those who are listening to me have had this happen to them. The fact of the matter is, the premise of all change starts with the thought, but the thought without action produces nothing. It is the thought with the action that produces what's called manifestation or miracles. And this, by definition, is something that we all innately have. But when us as individuals do not collectively or individually focus our thoughts, we get by default what we're thinking. And if you're thinking bad, then usually bad will come. And then we look for some external source to rectify an internal problem. This by itself is not correct as well. You are the only one in control of your life. Now, are there external factors that are going to play a part in it? Absolutely. You can't control the banking system. You can't control the real estate market. But you can control yourself and how you're going to operate within those institutions, if you will. The point I'm simply trying to make is this. Once one gets control of their thought life and their mind, they basically, to a certain extent, become unstoppable. I know this to be true because I did it with my own life. At the end of the day, it was up to me to decide who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be, and how I was going to present myself to the world. At the end, it is entirely up to you. You are given a choice. I don't know how much time you have or how long you will exist upon this planet Earth, this rock in which we find ourselves existing, but I will tell you this. We are all running out of time, or what we perceive to be time. You have a decision to make. You have a choice to make. You must think it all the way through. You must look at your life and take it seriously. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Tomorrow never comes. Today's always yesterday. So you only have the present moment, and that's why it's considered a gift. You only have now, at this very moment, to decide, what am I going to do? Now, I highly encourage you to not share everything you want to do with most people. Why do I say this? Because most people are afraid to live the life that they want. Most people are conditioned to think a certain way through the influence of others. Now, by no means am I trying to change your mindset in regards to think like me, but what I do want you to understand, it is entirely up to you in the way that you think. Read books, study, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, become fascinated with it. If you want to become wealthy, become fascinated with wealth. If you want to be a great salesman, be fascinated with the techniques of selling. If you want to be a great husband or a great wife, really focus on those things. Don't just say you want to do it, but don't put the action behind it. You must put action with faith. I'm going to say this to you again. It is a basic equation for the manifestation of the world itself. The thought is the first thing. To speak is the second thing. Your emotion or your will, your emotion, your energy in motion is the fuel, if you will. Let me give you an example. If you're in an argument with someone and you're yelling and screaming, do you notice how intense you are? how intense you are about trying to get your point across to that individual. Well, imagine if you took that same energy and not in an argument, but in the passion that you wanted to accomplish something. So you apply that much intensity to it. You apply that much intensity as if you were in an argument with someone. I assure you, when you place your emotions and will together with thought and faith, you will produce something called a miracle. I hope that this message helps you, and more importantly, that it encourages you for you to think and to think deeply and to realize that it is your life and it is entirely up to you and how you choose to live it. As always, I thank you so much for listening. I'm Mr. Johnson. Please, again, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And look forward to our event December 9th. It's limited to 5,000 people. The event will go on sale here, I believe, next week. So I'm excited about that. And as always, I thank you for all of your support and your comments. You have a blessed and prosperous day. Thank you so much. Peace.